Sure, we're good here. All right. Let's see. Are we live yet? Hello, hello. There we go. All right, sorry, YouTube hung up. We're good. Thumbs up. We live now. Good morning, everyone. All right, I'm just double checking on my end that we're good to go. It was a little funky there for a second. Apologies for the delay. We tried to start these around 9:30, but we had a bunch of people come in, so obviously want to take care of customers that came in here getting some stuff. But welcome back. Michael here. Rob's going to be here in a second, just getting some bait for a gentleman here, and we'll kick off the fish report, talk about what's new here at the shop, and then we'll talk about ice out brown trout fishing tips. So that's what the agenda for today's live stream is. Before we get into any of that, how's the fishing been for you guys? Let me know in the chat. Good morning to you all. Louis, Sean, Sunshine, Tim, Jason, John, Finley, good morning. Garcia, good morning. On Milwaukee now, just snapped off a big one. Oof. That sucks. Hopefully get some more fish, man. Good morning to everyone. Benji, Milan, Mike, good morning. Welcome, guys. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's talk about what we got here at the shop. One exciting thing that just came in here that we're going to dive into probably in a lot more detail next week is the Mr. Chrome order came in. This is one of the new flashers for the year. It's the McLovin flasher.
Yeah. This
This was a popular spoon last year, and so based on a lot of feedback, they made it into a flasher. So you can see the front, it's all white. On the back, you've got the like a prism kind of a UV tape on the back side. So this is new, one of the new flashes for the year. Probably around Monday or Tuesday, I think Rob said you'll have the
Monday,
stuff
Tuesday, I'll have it all checked in and
ready to go.
Yep.
But then next week, I think what we're going to do is next week we're going to talk about some of the, I guess we'll highlight the Mr. Chrome stuff for folks that haven't ventured into their spoons or flashers just yet. We'll highlight some of the ones that in the past year were standout selections. So we'll kind of highlight some stuff. So we'll talk about that next week. What else we got in the shop?
We got in a big order of Jensen Dodgers, your Coho stuff right here, Jensen Dipsy Divers, stuff like that. What else came in? A few more rods came in. It was a little bit slower this week for stuff coming in. We were just kind of waiting for things. So for those of you that have been patiently waiting for stubbies, they'll be here in about a week and a half. So we've got some new ones no one's ever seen before. There's a couple I haven't even seen yet. That's kind of what's holding up the order a little bit.
I wonder if should we tease them with a little something to get a little excited? We're getting so close. Is there something we can share, maybe, Rob? What do you think?
I think we're just gonna keep it top secret.
Top secret.
Yeah, I don't even know what two of them. Who knows?
Well,
I might see.
there's the one we know.
There's two I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So
there's one he showed me for sure.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting that in here. Again, when you see us post it, get your orders in because they're going to move fast. But it's a really big order. There's a ton of stubbies coming.
Yeah.
And then actually a new 00 coming too. It's a new regular 6-inch from those guys. So that's going to be pretty cool. That one's going to sell pretty fast.
All right. Milan said, can we reserve the flashers now? No, we're not doing any reservations. It just gets super complicated on our end to do holds and stuff like that. So, best thing is when we, on the live stream, we kind of use the live streams every week to feature, give you guys a first look, and then we post it to Facebook. So if you come to the lives, you're probably going to get a first look at like what we got in, whether it's coming or it just came in. And then after that, it goes to Facebook. So there's a little added value when you come to the lives. You get a little heads up on stuff so you can kind of be aware.
So they told me that order is going to ship Thursday or Friday. So figure 3-4 days to get here. And as soon as I have them all checked in and up on the pegs and everything, we'll post it.
All right. Matthew said, love what you guys do. Keep it coming, please. Thank you, Matthew. All right. And Jeff checking in. Good morning from Southern Indiana. Friends with Step. Jim Step, good guy. All right. So that's what we got in the shop right now. Let's get into the fishing this past week. What does it look like, Rob?
You know what? It was pretty cold this week.
Who are you telling? I'm over it. I'm over it.
Pretty cold this week. It was a slow week in the store. I didn't have too many guys coming in to buy bait or anything like that. So
no one wanted to freeze their balls off.
Yeah, I didn't get quite as many fishing reports as I normally do.
Yeah. But
I did get a few. I know they were getting some trout in Milwaukee. It's a little slower, but they were getting some. The key was, if you're using spawn sacks, keep them moving a little bit. Jig them just a little bit, and they were going. Some guys were catching them on fatheads, like XL fatheads, which we do have if you need them. Some guys were catching a few fish on shiners, but it did seem like from the people I did talk to, keeping the bait moving helps.
Rob said, "Good morning, guys. Looking forward to warmer temps." Me too. Hopefully going to lead to open water in Michigan City. Yep, hopefully, man. I'm ready for it. Chad asked, when we get salmon candy order?
I don't think I have that scheduled until April. In the past, when I've gotten them early, they just didn't sell as well. So I kind of pushed that order off until April.
They tend to have more like summertime, gear with a lot of their flashes.
So April is, I'm pretty sure, when I scheduled that one. So not too far away, really.
A couple months.
A month and a half out.
John said, Braidwood Cooling Lakes open on Saturday, March 1st.
Oh, nice.
Speaking of Saturday, March 1st, guys, next week, a week from today, is our next salmon school with Captain Caleb from Migrator Charters. It's totally free. He's going to cover, we posted the actual flyer on our Facebook. You can get the details there, but he's going to talk about 2 different topics. Do you remember off the top of your head what they are?
Rigging your boat.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember.
How to fill your cooler.
Yeah, how to. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's it's a pretty laid back thing. You can ask as many questions as you want. You can heckle him. You can
ask him about the lake trout he loves.
Yeah. So this is not one you have to sign up for. Just show up. Get here. Get here an hour early because it fills up fast though. Last year he really packed the place for it.
And it's free, it makes it more accessible.
So like if you want to make sure you get if you really want to make sure you have a good seat in there, I'd get here by 8.
Yep. So that's next Saturday here at the shop, and come on by. Stuff will probably end up coming in around that time. So your first whack at it.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of Dreamweaver stuff coming. We'll have the Mr. Chrome stuff up. We've got we got more moonshines in. This is more of the Moon Masters came in too. Yeah. So we're all loaded up on those.
Yep. So that's a little bit of an update there. Hopefully this coming week we'll have more to share with the fishing. It's just that cold has been so oppressive, man. Just no one wants to get out in it. It's just
there are people out there, but I didn't talk to a ton. Not as many as I normally do.
Right. Running Bear, greetings from Southwest Florida. Must be nice, man, in the warm times out there. Also, if you have any questions about anything we're going to talk about that we have talked about, or it doesn't even have to be related to the topic we're going to get into here shortly, which is about ice out brown trout fishing. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. We will get to it and answer the question. No question is too basic or too beginner. We're here to answer any very levels of questions, skill levels and all that. So feel free to throw that in the chat. Scott said, should I bring a folding chair if the seats are taken? I don't even know there'll be room for...
Yeah, to be honest with you...
It'll be standing room at that point.
Yeah, you'd be in the other room then. There's the chairs we have in there fill up the whole room.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could fit another chair.
Yeah. You could bring it and
maybe you just leave it in your car.
Yeah. Jason asked about the Big Pond Brawl. It's being worked on. We're working on securing sponsors, and right now all that we have shared so far is just the dates. When we have more, we'll release that.
Yep.
All right. Let's get into ice out brown trout fishing, which is, if you're like me, I don't ice fish, and if you're like me, you're itching to get out, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting for this harbors to clear up to be able to launch out there. So when that opportunity happens, you really have two species of fish that are going to be your first whack at of the year in the open water, that ice out period. One's going to be lake trout, and that can be depending on what area you're in. Closer to Chicago and south, there's going to be way more accessible. If you're in our area north, not to say you can't get into them, but I think for sure the brown trout's going to be more of the staple fish that folks are going to be targeting on that ice out period. So
sometimes it's steelhead, but the brown trout are the consistent ones. It's one of my favorite times of the year to fish. You know, someone emailed me during the week specifically asking if we could talk about this, and yeah, I was kind of excited about it because I love, you know, like I'm known to slide my kayak across ice and get out to whatever open water is available as soon as you can. So it's a really fun time of year.
Yep. So what's great about this is it's totally accessible if you're shore, kayak, small boat. This is one of the best times of the year. You can fish harbors or right out in front of Pierhead, and you have good opportunities to catch these fish. So,
and big fish too. It's one of my favorite times of the year for big brown trout.
Yeah. So what we're going to cover now is just tips on setups, things you might want to consider having in your arsenal to throw for them, and that's what we're going to start with it. So as Rob is talking about an item, if you're interested in finding out more information about the lure or the product, it'll be pinned on the YouTube live, and I think if you're watching on a desktop or iPad or something, it should show up there, so you'll be able to click on it and get more info on that product, that lure, and if you're interested, you can buy it right from YouTube through us. So Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, so first thing I'm going to talk about are tube jigs, actually. These are Southern Pro little hustlers right here, the crappie tubes. They're 2 inches. You can use 1.5, 2, 2.5, whatever. But main rig, you know, typically you're fishing this under a bobber, like a 16th or 32nd ounce jig head, the Gamakatsu ones. But, you know, 3 to 6 feet down. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just use a heavily weighted bobber so that it casts really far if you're fishing from shore. If you're not fishing from shore, if you're in your boat or if you're in a kayak, you can go with a much lighter setup. And that way it's just a little bit less commotion when it hits the water. And that actually is an advantage if you can do that. But this right here is one of the most consistent ways to catch brown trout, steelhead, anything. Tip it with a wax worm, piece of shrimp, use a little bit of scent on there, and it's all you really need. Just kind of a twitch it, a little touch and go, and you're ready to go. So this will work in the spring, it'll work in the fall, it'll work ice fishing, it'll work anytime you want.
That's what line with that?
I usually, you know, just 8 pound. My main line, I usually have a specific rod dedicated to tube jigs, and that's going to be like a 10-pound braid, as long as it's not below freezing out, and then 8-pound fluoro leader, usually like 3 feet of that. Interesting thing about that is keeping a fresh leader on there seems to be important. When you're casting really far from shore, if that leader has been used a bit and it gets limper, it tangles more on the cast. So if you keep your leader somewhat fresh and stiff, it doesn't get as tangled as much when you're casting it way out there. That was definitely something it took me a little while to figure out, but a pretty useful tip if you haven't done it before. And then after that, you're just figuring out the cadence that those fish want. Sometimes they want it moving more, sometimes they want it moving less. So that's the first thing to start with right there. I really also like fishing crankbaits, stick baits, jerk baits, that kind of thing. So shadow wraps, husky jerks, those are really good. If you're fishing from shore, like we kind of talked about these already last week, but lipless cranks like this right here, this flash shad, or ripping wraps, because they cast very well from shore, they work great as well. And again, as far as color goes, you can't go wrong with gold. So when in doubt, throw gold for brown trout. Same thing here, gold thin fish, one of my absolute favorites. So any of that kind of stuff works great. Another good one if you're fishing from shore is a Coho wobbler. This is the gold with the fluorescent orange stripe on it. That's one you can't go wrong with as well. Pretty much just kind of figure out the mood of the fish, They're going to follow like pike. Spring brown trout are really cool because they're not quite as finicky as the fall brown trout. You're going to see right at ice out, you're going to have a lot of post-spawn fish. There's still actually, surprisingly, even though there's fall spawners, you're going to have some that are still going to be in spawning mode, but you get a lot of these post-spawners, they get really territorial, and they just swipe at anything going by. If the fish are hanging down a little deeper, like some years we've seen in Kenosha, just a little bit of weeds in the bottom, like in around the docks, and you just got to tip those weeds a little bit to catch they trigger the bite. So like at that point, the flicker shad, like this is the purple tiger, that's a really good one. The chartreuse pearl is a good one. There's a few different good ones. So I'll just kind of feel away, like I'll just start fishing like there from the boat launch and just cast my way all the way out to the bridge, and just let the fish tell me what they want at that point. But usually they're not super picky early in the spring. It's a really good time to catch them.
Yeah. Did you go through the spoons as well?
Oh yeah. So again, if you're casting from shore or from a boat, but specifically from shore, I already mentioned that KO wobbler, the Castmasters and Cleos, but Castmasters right there are absolute key lure for fishing from shore. This one right here is a 3/4 ounce. That's probably as big as I would go. Half is a good size. Anywhere between half and 3/4 is going to be a really good size for the trout. And one tip, actually, I haven't done this in a long time, but back in the day, we used to do it a lot. We would take the treble hook off the Castmaster and then slide it into a tube, the same tubes I have here, and then put that back on the Castmaster, and that would completely change the action of the Castmaster.
Yeah, and you got the tentacles, yeah.
Yep, and that would work really well. It kind of just snakes through the water like that.
Yeah. Yep, it does. Jay said, great tip. Sewell said, are there any good spots for browns out of Waukegan or North Point? I usually only catch one a year, or they're randomly.
Yeah, like if you're trolling, North Point's not a great port for fishing for brown trout. Yeah. Typically, you got to get away from North Point in either direction. So like Waukegan and south, it gets better, and then Kenosha and north, it gets better. Our area, North Point's not that great. We don't have stock them super heavily, and we don't have the structure out front that hold them in. So like if you're talking about, getting out in the open lake and trolling for them, then they want to be in areas typically that have more rocks and boulders and some sort of structure.
Yeah, they're definitely more structure orientated, for sure. Milan said, where do you launch from? North Point for browns or head further up the coast?
If I was specifically going for browns, I'd be launching further up north.
Just going to Wisconsin.
Yeah, now, that being said, Kenosha Harbor, the boat launch, it might be a little while before that's open to launch. You might either have to go right up to Racine or launch out of North Point and just head north. Because Kenosha's pretty locked up. It's going to be a couple weeks before you can.
Yeah, the thing what's unique about Kenosha is like once you come in through the channel, once you get to like the basin, I call it the donut, and then all the way to the launch, it's almost like its own little lake. Mm-hmm. So that acts very differently there with the current, and then the time it takes for the ice to dissipate out of there because it's pretty like landlocked, if you will, if you think about it. So that takes a little bit longer. The other thing too is if you go out of Waukegan, you go south. There's good opportunities going in that south direction, and that probably doesn't get talked about a lot, to be quite honest. And so, we think about guys that fish out of the kayak out of
like Wilmette,
like all those areas. There's a lot of, you'll get into Lakers out there, you'll catch the trouts down there, and a lot of those fish are pretty untapped on there. Not a lot of people fish on there. So just to throw that out there. Good opportunity to maybe explore that area and see what you can put together as well. Again, we know that there are folks that fish at charters go out that way and stuff. So other opportunities as well going south. And then of course, if you go down to like Chicago, you don't see as nearly as many browns. I like Burnham Harbor. Burnham has always done well for browns. And then once you get out of the harbor itself, Burnham and then 31st Street. You've got the riprap all along that, right before McCormick. That's another good area for browns. I wouldn't say it's as consistent as up here, but if you're looking for browns in Chicago, that's another area. But I think that if you're in Chicago, I think it's all about the lake trout. You know, they just for volume of fish. I think that's more of what you would want to focus on if you're doing it out of that area there. Questions, throw them in the chat. Let's get to see what people are saying here. I've heard south of Waukegan is good in the spring, but not sure when or why they congregate there.
Well, like we were saying, they like the areas with more structure and boulders and stuff. And once you get south of Waukegan, you have a lot more of that in the North Shore areas.
You got the Great Lakes base, have the break wall out there. You can't go in there.
Yeah,
but,
and overall, it's just a rocky. Like out of North Point,
yeah.
it's just sand.
Yeah, yeah. You definitely got more structure. Scott said, I understand Atlantics look like browns. Visually, Atlantics are sleeker, are narrower at the tail, have no spots on the Oedipus fin. I hear ever catch Atlantics fishing near shore at this time?
I have not.
No, I haven't seen that happen. Tom said, how's Oak Creek? Still silted in?
Yep.
The thing with Oak Creek, guys, from our understanding as of like last season, is it doesn't seem like the city's going to do much to address that issue. It sounds
They're
like.
working on it right now.
Are they?
Yeah.
I know last year it
it's
was
going to
an
be a
issue.
long process.
Yeah. One that's going to end up happening again. They have no break wall to stop that sand. It's just
been going on for decades.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Let's see. Pawn said, what are good lures for the Waukegan Harbor? I'm looking to start salmon fishing this year. It looks very exciting. Great question, Pawn.
Well, first, are you shore fishing or are you boat fishing?
Yeah.
Now, the lures I already kind of mentioned would all work. If I'm fishing from shore, I'd probably concentrate a little more on the spoons down there because you do need to fish. You need to cast a little further there than you do, say, in Kenosha. The fish aren't quite as concentrated in one narrow area down there like they are in Kenosha. So I'm going to cover more water with the spoons. You're going to see a lot of guys also bottom fishing down there, just minnows on the bottom, spawn on the bottom. That's something I didn't really talk about with spawn, or live bait fishing, but that works very well in the early spring, especially if the water's dirty, keeping bait down on the bottom, even dead minnows even.
Yep. And all the lures that we talked about, they work whether you're boat or shore fishing. Scott said, does Wilmette have a boat launch? Wilmette has, I think it's a private one, isn't it?
It's either it's private or it's super expensive to launch there.
I think it's super expensive if you're not a resident of the area.
Basically, the North Shore launches are not outsider friendly. Yeah,
they're very inaccessible. But if you're in a kayak, it's great for the kayak. I know a lot of kayak guys will fish it, and they do very well out there. All right. DJ Mini said, what depth should we try to reach shore fishing? Is there a minimum we should look for?
If you're shore fishing, you don't have a lot of choices there. And the fish can kind of be all over the place. Like if you're fishing in Kenosha or Racine around the docks and stuff, you're fishing 12 feet or less for the most part. If you're casting off the pier, at the most, you probably, in any of the harbors, really, you're probably not casting much past 20 feet of water, 25. And that's really it. As far as where the fish are in the water column, that changes based on temperatures and clarity and stuff. So if you have dirty water, to safer bets, usually the fish near the bottom, especially with the bait. Clear water, the fish will see it a little from further away, typically fish up a little higher.
All right. Let's see here. Sean said, how do I stop catching northerns when salmon fishing? It's such a pain. Listen, I'm sure some northern angler right now is reading that irritated, like, well, I don't know that. I mean, listen, you're...
Well, one thing, I think, if you are really in the pike, you're probably not where there's a bunch of salmon, because the pike don't want to be mixed up with the salmon.
Yeah.
The salmon get territorial, they nip at them. So, like, if you're fishing for kings or even the browns, if you just keep getting the pike, maybe just get out of that area, try a different area.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, if you've been fishing the harbors long enough, you'll notice that these other species, the non-salmon and non-trout, tend to, like the pike, I've never really find pike where I found like browns, and I think to your point, whether they get bullied around or it's a territorial thing or everyone just wants to stay in their own little corners of the harbor or whatever, it's rare that I've had like a mixed bag of like browns and northerns. I mean, it was 2 years ago that I just randomly caught a northern while trolling for kings in the fall.
Yeah.
I hit a turn and here comes a pike. I was like, that's so random.
Not that it never happens, but usually, I'd say if I'm catching one, I'm not catching the other.
Yeah. So like when the browns are in the harbor, it's really, I don't find a lot of pike. I don't know where they go or what they're doing. But the minute the browns leave out the harbor, right, when the coho come and they push back out in the open water, the pike are right back in those spots along the docks, the weed lines. Yeah, they're in there again. So there's a really interesting dynamic that goes on. These fish are cycling through there. And I think you're right, Rob. I think the salmon and the trout are going to be bigger and probably bullying and competing those other fish. So they push off to other areas perhaps. All right, let's see what else we got here. Do you have herring meat in stock?
Yes.
We do have
Familiar bite right now.
There we go. All right. Good morning, love the chat. Listening from Sturgeon Shanty. All right, Joel. Hey, man, good luck up there. Hopefully catch a lot of fish. Paul said, do you think starting this late March is perfect time to start catching them? Listen.
I'd start even earlier.
Yeah, if there's
you should be able to find some open water areas in like a week or two. I mean, a lot of times I'm already fishing them. At this point in the season, like middle of February can be good. I would start beginning of March. I wouldn't wait till the end.
March is normally the beginning of my season. As long as I can launch my kayak, I'm out there.
I've caught some of my biggest brown trout ever while guys were still ice fishing.
Yeah.
So
if you got open water, hit the pierhead, man. We say this a lot. Don't always wait for a report to by the time you hear a report and everyone's saying it's fire, it's on fire, it's a great bite, time has passed, something might change, a current might change, the weather system might come through. It's over with. And I think that if you have an opportunity to go fish, guys, just go take it. You never know that day that you went out, you might have been the guy that was right at the right time at the right place and you banged out 20. I mean, we a couple weeks ago we were hearing guys were in Kenosha by the pipe were banging 25, 30 browns.
Yep.
They were killing it. It just right time and right place. So if you have the day to go fish, it's better than sitting at home or being in the office. Regardless of a report, just go out there and give it a shot. Spend an hour or two and go from there. All right. Randy said, hi guys, you ever use detachable dipsies like the no fish Nick setup? I've seen that before in his YouTube video. Works great for spring browns. Ever pick up any unicorn walleyes? No walleyes for me.
Never caught a walleye around here. That would be extremely rare. I've done detachable dipsies before, and it definitely works pretty well.
Yeah, I think the thing with the dipsies is it's a little bit more work. I think you got to weigh is it worth it for you? And I think that's an individual use case kind of decision there. But yeah, certainly pros and cons to it for sure. And as far as the walleyes, like we said, none of us, but we do know that down the southern basin, they've caught them, and I think there is more likely to find some down there. Not like with any great numbers, but if you were to pull a random walleye out, I think the better odds are in in Indiana.
Yeah, there's some big ones.
Yeah, there are. Yep. Waiting for the river to open up to fish for them. Sounds good, Lex. I have clips on all my dipsies. Mike says easy to change your lead length or to whatever you want. I want braid and wire. Okay. All right. Scott said, I thought I heard a rumor that if an Okuma rep is on and everyone hits the like, Okuma rep was considering checking with their crew and supply more stuff for the drawings. I have not heard that. Good one. Any questions about anything we talked about as far as ice out brown trout? Let us know. Again, a quick reminder that next week we have the Salmon School with Captain Caleb. It's absolutely free. Come on by. And I am still currently working on the live scope for salmon trolling seminar or e-course or whatever you want to call it. I haven't figured out how I'm going to deliver it or what, but I am working on it. So there's that. I'm working on a couple different things actually for this year. Kind of like course-driven stuff that you guys can, if you wanted to check out. So I'll keep you updated on that as we go along. Good morning, Stro. Got a 13-pound, 33-inch spring trolling Cook power plant 2 years ago. I'm not sure. Probably mean a brown. So that is good. I'm trying to think what else. I think we covered our bases, gents. Oh, walleye. Oh, nice. Yeah, you know, it's not every day that you have that. So, all right, folks. If there's no other questions, we're gonna wrap up the live and get back into stuff here in the shop. If you guys need anything, feel free to come on by. Want to take a look at the stuff that we got? Any questions? If you're looking for setups for your spring season, happy to get you rigged up here. We got everything ready to go. Come on by, check it all out. As far as the Mr. Chrome stuff, we'll have that up early in the week. And be checking the website. We'll also post on our Facebook when it's ready to go for you guys to check out as well. So thank you guys for joining us as always. Looking forward to weather change. I think we got 50-degree temps coming in the week. I'm ready for some open water. Hopefully you guys are too, so we can get out there and go fishing. So we'll wrap it up here. Have a great rest of your day, folks, and we'll see you guys later. Take care. 225 would be the most you can get out.